Okay, good evening, everyone. Hope you guys had an awesome week this week. And now that I'm feeling better, business is back to normal here. Okay. So a couple of things here. These weekly charting sessions I want to do consistently and focus doing this every week, how often I can, no matter what the circumstances are. Okay. So that way we have a fresh understanding of what we need to look for and how we're going to be trading this week. Okay. So we still got a lot of earnings happening this week as well. So I'll start off by basically talking about what the game plan is for this market this week, and then we will discuss basically uh, how we're going to be trading and how we're going to be navigating this market here. Okay, so first thing first is the weekly market sentiment report. So if you guys haven't got a chance to look at it, please do. So on the weekly market sentiment report, we basically gave our analysis and shared what premiums we're looking for this week. Okay. So for this week, my key two premiums I'm looking at right now is a 45.40 call and a 44.20 put. Okay. So that is going to be the range that we're looking at, more than 100 points. So it's pretty there's a lot of movement that's going to be happening in the market. Okay. Another thing that matters the most here is our key market analysis here. Okay. So the market analysis is that we expect there to be a gradual methodical pace on the market movement. So as long as SPX remains above 4470 this week, then pretty much the market should be still in the bullish range here. Okay, because there's events coming up, and what I expect to happen is for us to focus on the upside here. Okay, so I believe prior to the CPI report, we should see the SPX move from 4470-ish area to around 4500 area. Okay, so we'll definitely be watching that if that theory holds. Okay, because the 4470 level is going to be your key pivot point, that if we do break below that, we're going to start to move within the 44 to 4450 range, and that's what I'm looking at for this week at this time. Okay, so I'll kind of reiterate that a little bit. Okay, because we started a little bit earlier, is I see, based on the market sentiment report, that we see a gradual move for SPX. As long as 4470 holds, we may see an upside movement to around 4550. Okay, and the reason why I say that right now is because of last week's sell-off. They put premiums are a little expensive, and the market makers may need to cut off the premiums, or sell some puts in order to re-hedge their existing position here. So I see temporary upside leading into the CPI report. Now the CPI report is expected to occur on Thursday here at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time zone. Now, the expectation here is that inflation, pretty much, if you look at the previous number here, has not increased by a lot. Okay, so the market makers pretty much assume that the inflation is going to be pretty much the same from last week till now. So there isn't going to be a significant shift on the CPI report. Okay, so we're going to be looking for that detail, and we're going to definitely be keeping an eye on that. Okay, other things to note is the FOMC Harker is also speaking the same time as the CPI report. I don't think that he will have a significant move on the overall market, but still it does matter. And the PPI and the consumer sentiment also will be coming in. One thing that's unusual is that usually the CPI report happens on a Thursday, but for this time out, for this week, it's happening on a Thursday. Okay, so usually it happens on a Wednesday, but now it's happening on a Thursday. Another important thing to really keep an eye on is your bond, the bond auction. The bond auction actually does matter because of the down credit rating. I will, usually I haven't been checking the overall movement in the bonds, but now for this week, it actually really does matter just because of the last week's downgrade that we've been seeing here. Okay. So Monday, we also have a couple of other FOMC members speaking, and we have, other countries reporting their overall bond auction. Okay. So be aware for any news that may come out of the Bank of Japan. They're back to quantitative easing on their economy here. Okay, so before I go into other details, a couple of earnings that really interest me. So if you look at the earnings channel, SMCI is reporting earnings the same time the same time as UPST. So both of these companies are reporting earnings. The key difference between both of them here is that SMCI, of course, mainly deals, it's part of AI with their whole computer chip, memory chip, and so forth. But this stock is basically trading near its all-time highs. Okay, so premiums are definitely going to be very expensive for this play here, and depending on the overall outcome, the anticipation is going to be really high here. Okay, for UPST, it is not trading at all-time highs, but it's definitely made a significant jump from the time AI started to really skyrocket here. Okay, I'm looking to see if UPST gets to 55 prior to earnings, because that would probably be the ideal support to play the upside again here. But regardless, this stock, even though if earnings come out very good, it has a potential to see 100 plus. Okay, so we have the 70 calls into earnings, so those can ideally be around 30. Now, the good and positive thing is that because this is happening early on during the week, you get the additional premium from the longevity because the expiration happens on a Friday. So if, let's just say, UPSC has good earnings and it somehow gets to 100 bucks, then you will basically get 30 plus on those calls here. So one thing to really keep an eye on about that is this UPST, and I really like it for earnings this week here. Okay, so these are my top two earning candidates, is SMCI and UPST. We will think of a creative way to pretty much trade it for this week here. Okay, another moving potential stock here is Nvidia here. So I was doing a gamma analysis on this as well. The premiums I'm looking for on this stock here, so it has a range between 440 and 460. Okay, so we're looking at a 20-point range. Because SMCI is reporting, Nvidia will also move on those earnings. Okay, so definitely want to keep an eye on that as well too. So I see that this here, the 460 calls could be in place. So if you don't want to play SMCI, watch for the Nvidia 460 calls, which were at $4, which is pretty expensive. I wouldn't want to play anything outside of that. So if you're a small account and don't want to pay $4 for the 460 calls, wait for it to move lower. So I wouldn't jump into that right away, because that is the top range where I see on Nvidia for this week. Now, other stocks that will move based on the catalyst for this week is Microsoft. Okay, so Microsoft here, we see that it has a potential range from 320. So 320 is actually a very strong support where it's actually near right now. This might be a better play for small accounts here. Okay, so what I'm looking at is between 320 strong support and looking at between 320 would be a good thing to play the 330. Okay, so wait for the stock to go a little lower, because as you can see right here, it's at a pivot point. So it's at a higher low. It went here, rejected, now under its 50-day MA, which is at 340. So if we could get this position and possibly play the 330 calls, it may work very well. Okay, so but we need this stock to move a little bit lower. So keep an eye on this to see how that works. Meta as well. I will not buy this until it gets between 305, 300, and that can work as a support bounce moving forward. I also like NOW as well for this week. Okay, its earnings were good last week, but it's pretty much starting to take a toll and start to dip. So wait for 535 in order to get that. Now, the last thing I want to look at is LRCX. So great earnings, but pretty much the only catalyst left are the CPI report and the SMCI earnings that is coming up. Okay, Apple reported bad earnings and pretty much may give an opportunity as a put play here. So I'm watching Apple to see if it hits 177 this week here. Okay, so that will be another weakness in the market here that we're going to be looking at. So if it does go to its 200-day, that's another 3% decline based on its weak iPhone, iPad, and all of that sales that went on. Okay, guys. So pretty much it's going to be all about SMCI and UPST that can really move the market prior to the CPI report. And I gave my SPX prediction as well too. 4470 is going to be a very strong support. If that doesn't hold, then we're going to be moving it towards the 4450 and the 4420 level on SPX. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at right now. So that's all I got for you guys right now. We're going to continue doing the morning calls at around 8 o'clock Eastern. So that'll be 8 o'clock Eastern time zone. Be prepared for it. And we're going to be doing these weekly charting sessions as well. Okay, I'll post a recording in that as well. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the chat and we will take care of it from there. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.